Hello everyone, welcome back to Python tutorials by Code Warriors. In the previous video we have talked about control flow and we have discussed about if-else statements and for loop inside the control flow. Now today we are going to talk about another loop which is a while loop. And in this video we will discuss the use of while loops, the ways we can use the while loop and how it is different from for loop, like when to use for loop and when to use while loop. Okay, so without wasting time, let's go to our spider and see its practicals. Okay, so just like for loop, while loop is also a simple syntax, nothing much complicated. Just write while and give it a condition like num is less than 10 and print something like print hello. Okay, and let's give it a some kind of a value like right now num equals to 0 and write num is equals to num plus 1. So now see what's happening over here. We have defined num as a value 0 over here in this line. Okay, then we said while num is less than 10, print hello, and every time increase the value of num by 1. Okay, so what happens at the first iteration, value of num will be 0. Then when it will go for the second iteration, value of num will become 1, and every time it will check at the while situation, at the while syntax, and it will see the condition satisfies. This num is greater than 10, num is less than 10 becomes true. That means while true, if situation is true, it will run whatever is inside the loop. And just like for loop, here this is also a loop, we are going to use indentations. If a block of code comes under any kind of a function or a loop or a method, it all comes inside the indentation, so that we can easily see what's going on over there. We can easily understand it. Okay, so if we run this code, let's see what happens. F9. Okay, it is taking some time. Yeah, now you see it printed hello 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 10 times. It printed hello 10 times because we have started from 0 and we have said stop when num is less than 10, means when the last iteration would be of value of num equals to 9. Now if we come outside of the loop and we print the value of num and let's run it, and it says the value of num is 10. Okay, it says the value of num is 10. Now why it says this? Because you see, let's say it started from 0. Now 0 is less than 10. The condition satisfies, it runs. It keeps on happening until the value come here, num becomes 9. Now 9 is less than 10. It again runs this program and 9 is equal to 9 plus 1. Now num is the value of num becomes 10. And again it goes to the while section and it says 10 is less than 10, false. It comes out of the loop and it prints the value of num, and which is 10. Now this is a while loop. Now like if else statement, we can use same thing in the while. Now we can say let's do it and write here else print num is greater or equal to 10. Okay, under double inverted commas as it is a syntax, and let's run it. F9. Now you see for the 10 times it runs the hello world, and when this while condition becomes false, it printed num is greater or equal to 10. Now if we say let's do it like this. Now let's see what happens. F9. Now you see while loop didn't even run over here, because while condition of while is false, it comes to the else and it tells why the while loop didn't work, because we have printed kind of an error message over here. Okay, we can say it like an error message we have given in the else, why this while loop did not work, because their value of 10 is num is greater than 10. That's why. Okay, or we can say according to the situation over here, num is less than 10. That's why this loop didn't work. Okay, now this is the while and while else. Now we've seen this here. What this much of the code says, whether the condition is true or false. Now we can do one more thing here. We can say while true. While the condition is true, print anything. Let's say hello. Okay, let's run this. Let's see what happens. Now our code. See, our code went into an infinite loop. You can see we scrolled up. Okay, it goes into an infinite loop because there is no stopping point in here. Condition is always true and it keeps on printing hello, hello, hello. Now this, let me tell you something about spider ID also. Now if anytime your program stuck somewhere or you goes into an infinite loop, you see here this is a red button here. It says stop the current command. Now what it does, it terminates whatever command is running right now. And if I press it right now, keyboard interrupt command is interrupted. Okay, so this was an infinite loop. Now there are while true is a very important concept you have to understand and very useful concept, right? Now, but we need something to stop it. We need something so that we can stop this while true command. So there are three statements. Let me tell you. First is break, break. Second is continue, and third is pass. Now these three are some statements used to work with a while loop or any for loops to manipulate them. Now to follow, let's say now here I will show you each and every of these with an example so that you can understand very easily. Now it says while true. Okay, let's say I let's okay, we have defined num of equals to 0 over here, and we say num equals to num plus 1, like we did it in this while loop. We write it num is equal to num plus 1, and let's make it more interesting. Let's use an if loop over here. If num is less than 10, or yes, if num is less than 10, or let's say if num is equals to 10, break. Okay, now let's run it. Now let's see what happens. F9. Now you see what it printed out hello 10 times. Sorry, 9 times it printed out hello. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And when it comes to the 10th time, it says there's a break statement. And what break statement does, it brings you out of the current working loop. Now the current working loop right now is while loop. So what it break does, it pull us out of the while loop. Now if we would have wrote here continue. Okay, let's remove this true over here because continue will not work with a true. It will again make the whole program and then finite loop. Continue what does, it says whenever you put a continue, it basically takes it after continue keyword, the syntax which comes after the continue keyword does not run, and what it does, it takes you back to the again the while loop. It takes you back to this syntax while. So I will show you here. Let's say while num is less than 10, num is equal to num plus 1. If num is equals to 4, continue. Okay, and what we do here, we do print now. Now let's see what happens here. Now normally when we run this kind of program, what it does, it prints all the values of the now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 up to this while loop satisfies. Now at the 10th it will not satisfy and it will terminate over there. But let's see what happens this time. F9. Okay, something happened over here. Okay, yes, actually this time a while loop did not work because num was greater than 10 already, because we have run the previous loops the value of num. So let's run this part again, F9, and now run this block of code. Now you see it printed out 1, 2, 3, and then missed out 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why it missed out 4? Because we said if num is equals to 4, continue. So from the continue part, it did not go to the print num, it directly goes back to the while loop. Now continue is used like in some kind of situations we don't want to run other set of instructions and we want to restart the loop again. We want to go back to the loop again. So in those cases, this continue we work with a continue, because we don't want to do print 4 over here. That's why we wrote continue if num is equal to 4. Forget about the rest of the code. Continue back to the loop. Now this instructions, this is what continue does. Okay, so now third thing is pass. Now pass is nothing. It's like when you're writing a long big codes and you are leaving a section of some kind of loop, and you are thinking like, I will get back to that loop later on. I will write a code about it later on. But you can't leave like you just give it an instruction while let's say while true, while true, and if you run this much of the code F9, it gives you an error, unexpected error while passing, because you need to write something inside the code. Even the comments don't work in this kind of situation. So you have to do something like you have to give it some kind of a instruction, some kind of code inside of it. But you are thinking of giving it a code later on because you are working on a big code. After some time, you want to give it something inside of the code. So what you do, you write this pass keyword. You use a pass keyword over here. Now there is one glitch inside of it. There is one thing with a while loop, that when you use pass with a while loop, your loop goes to infinite. You see, mostly we get another section here to run another command, but it keeps on running. There is our code is stuck over there. So it happens with a while loop. So basically, pass is not used with a while loop. Let's again do keyboard interrupt, and I will show you this same example with a for loop. Let's say for num, and in range, let's say 10. And but we don't want to do right now anything inside it. If we run this, it gives me an error. Invalid syntax. Okay, yes. One thing I was missing. Okay. Now that's a genuine error. But right now this gives me this error, an unexpected error while passing, because need to write something inside of a loop. It's not going to work for itself. So what we do here, we write a pass. Okay, and then let's run only this one right now. And you see, it run perfectly fine. It gives me a second set of to write a command to the command. It gives me an option, and we write here print anything now. Now let's run it. F9, and you see where the value of num is 9 right now, because in the previous here we run it to the 9. Okay, so this is how for loop pass works. Okay, this is all in the while loop. And now let's talk about how while loop is different from for loop. Most of you would have understand what's the difference between the while loop and a for loop. But for most of them, let me tell you. Now you see while loop is running until this condition is true. When this condition becomes false, while terminates. It is running only up to this condition is true. You don't know how many iterations it's going to take. You don't know how many times it is going to run. You don't know nothing about it. You are just giving it a condition that I don't know anything. I just know this condition, and until this is true, the code needs to run. But in for loop, as you see here, I gave it a range. I gave it a range of 10. Now this loop is going to work for 10 iterations only. Let's see. If I write here print hello, and let's give it a num equals to 1. Now if we run this set of code, F9, and you see it runs for the 10 times only, from 1 to 10, and it gives me the hello over here. Now another thing is in in the for loops are known, basically for loops are known as iterable loops because in this we know the iterations of the number of iterations we are going to use inside of it. And another thing is in the for loops, as we have seen, we run it through various data types. Mostly all the kind of data types we have run the for loops with, like with the strings, with our dictionaries, with a list. We knows what kind of an iteration we want to do with a for loop. We does it exactly in that way. But in the while loop, we don't have such kind of privileges. It works simple. Until the condition is true, keep on running this set of code. Condition becomes false, terminate it. Or we can use break continue statements to get out of the loop. Now this is the difference between a for and a while loop. The for loop we use when we want to go through some kind of a data types, or we know the number of iterations that we want to use. While loop we use when we know the condition, or what condition we need to run that set of instructions. That's the only difference between a for and a while loop. Okay, so what we covered today, we talked about simple while loops, then we talked about while and else loops, then we used a boolean inside of a while loop, while true. This num is greater than 10, is saying that right now it is true, run this program. If it is false, terminate the program, terminates the loop. So what we did, we directly wrote true over here. So this is what we learned today. We learned break, continue, and pass, these three statements, when to use these three statements. Now look, I'm telling you only the basic concepts, only the general concepts. Now you have to work it out. You have, while writing codes, you have to think where you can use these statements and work it out. Okay, that's your task to do. I'm telling you just their function, how you can use them, in what number of ways you can use them. But when you will use your mind in these kind of things, you will do the growth in this. Okay, then I told you the difference between a for and a while loop. So this is all about a while loop. Okay, keep practicing. See you in the next video.